I'd like to narrow down some of this discussion about East Tampa. For several years, I've been a volunteer at a youth program in Sulphur Springs. There's no Boy Scouts, there are no Girl Scouts, there's no Boys and Girls Club, there's no Big Sisters, Little Brothers, whatever that organization is. Several years ago, there was this big photo op campaign of the mayor on a bulldozer tearing down houses in Sulphur Springs. Nothing has been rebuilt. There are vacant lots, there's signs that say, new homecoming, city of Tampa. What will you do to bring hope to the people in that neighborhood?
Okay.
All right.
That's a great question. And as the mayor in Sulphur Springs, I ensured that myself and every one of my staff members was a big brother or big sister. My little sister I had in 3rd grade, she's 24 years old. I just had dinner with her the other night, lives in Atlanta. There is a Boy Scout troop, and it was started by the Tampa Police Department, by the Rich House that we have there. We put a Rich House in the community, which is an after-school program for all of the kids, and it's a resource for all of the adults during the day. A young girl, no one in her family had graduated from high school, came through the Rich House. She went to college and became a police officer, and now after 3 years being a police officer, she heads the Rich House in Sulphur Springs. So she is an example of what all the children can be in Sulphur Springs. You're right, Sulphur Springs has the highest concentration of juveniles and the smallest number of recreational outlets for them. And so we have in the police department funded a number of issues there. And I will continue with building the homes, doing away with the duplexes, and building single family affordable homes in Sulphur Springs when I'm mayor.
I was talking about this issue earlier of city-owned properties and our need to much more aggressively get them into the hands of people that need housing and therefore back onto the tax rolls. During the Obama administration, the city received money for programs like the one that you described. We are not getting that money from the federal government anymore. In some cases, our housing dollars have been eliminated. In other cases, they've been slashed as much as 90%. So what I'm talking about doing is really fairly radical. Actually saying, partnering with individuals and saying, because the cost of land is so high, we'll give you the land if you will actually take responsibility for building a house on it and then pay taxes on it. I think that we can work with individual citizens one by one to develop these properties and get them back into the community. Another thing that we've done is put a lot of money into after-school programs. Councilman Suarez and I, the budgets we've been voting for, and that's something that we should continue to do to make sure we're offering into the community.
As mayor, I'll provide the leadership that gets out of City Hall and goes down to those neighborhoods and meets with the neighborhoods, meets with the leaders, and tells them what is important to you. Please tell me. Let me know your needs. Let me know your wants. Let me know your desires so that we can start to try to get to work. I'm not going to promise East Tampa. I'm not going to promise any area in the city anything I don't think I can deliver on, except hard work. And to be that cheerleader and to say, I want to make it important. I want you to understand it is important to me for us to do the things we can do. I'm not running for school board, superintendent, etc. But I think it's important for the mayor to go to the school board, to go to the superintendent and say, hey, we need quality education, not just in certain areas of the city, but all areas of them, so that everyone can get a quality education, not only just to possibly get a high school degree, but even to get something like a vocational training. We need internships. We need possibly a living minimum wage to be paid. I would support something like that so that people can have jobs. But those are the things I do. I would make people know that it was important to me, even if I couldn't get everything I wanted done.
It's hard to answer that in 60 seconds or less, but I'll get to it as quickly as I can. First off, I'll hang up the phone with Domain Homes calls because they don't know how to build affordable housing, all right? In fact, I was at a city council meeting the other day where Domain Homes was defending their $240,000 to $280,000 affordable homes, and there was an African-American woman who was a general contractor. She said, I can build them for less than that. And all our city council did was say, well, would you guys talk to each other like that? That's all they did. And I guarantee you she didn't get any of that business. Yep, not at all. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we go to the minority-owned businesses. We we ask them, give us a competitive bid, because I'm not gonna be bought, I don't have to take inflated prices, so we can actually build them for an affordable rate, and that's for damn sure. The second thing we need to do is make sure that when they're built with transit-oriented development in mind. If you can design a city that doesn't need a car to get from point A to point B, then people don't have to own one, and that means they don't have to pay gas, that means they don't have to pay insurance, they don't have to pay for car wrecks or speeding tickets for red light cameras that don't work, or anything else, right? We can help them get a 25% raise on their salaries like that by just giving them transit that allows them to get to and from where they want to go. Thank you.
I have a bunch of comments I could make on this, and unfortunately time isn't long enough, but you raise a very good question. And when I toured your organization a couple of months ago to see what you and other volunteers are doing there, my eyes were open. There are kids in his organization that only eat half their lunch and save the rest of their lunch and take it home so that their parents have something to eat when they come back from work. It's a shame, but you're doing wonderful work. The city needs to participate more in your efforts. And that means, as I said before, allocating our limited resources properly, not putting $35 million in a park. Unfortunately, my time's up. We all, fortunate people in this room, need to help a lot of these organizations. Do more. And I'm not saying necessarily money, but offer your services, work, go out there and lend a hand.
You know, Art, I know that you're involved with Stepping Stones. It's not the only organization that's doing things in East Tampa or in Sulphur Springs. I mean, one group in particular that I've been involved with is called G3. It's called Give God the Glory. It's about life apps. And what they do, they're two gentlemen, Josh Balloon and Ronnie McCullough. And they've started an organization that not only teaches kids about athletics and about learning, but they teach them about other professions that are out there. They have doctors that come on in and teach them how it is that you dissect an animal and how you actually learn and how to become a doctor or a lawyer or any other profession. They're showing something to the folks that go to their organization that no one else is willing to do or has done, which is you are worth something and you can achieve anything you want if you study hard enough, if you work hard enough, and if you've got the right guidance. They're providing that guidance. I hope that you will go G3 Life Apps, look it up, and please make sure you be involved with that particular organization too. Art.
In 2005, Teresa and I opened our In-Town Homes Model Center. It was 1 block away from, I think, Jane, the 5th worst drug hole in the city of Tampa, in West Tampa. And for 3 years, I sat in a model center in the middle of that community that was 90% black, 60% below the federal poverty level, and tried to sell homes. We built 55 homes. We also restored 25 homes of senior citizens, and we stabilized the community. This is not about sound bites. This is about hard work. And Art, I will tell you as mayor, I'll go up there, I'm going to be a working mayor, no sound bites, no platitudes. The worst scourge that has happened to neighborhoods has been the city's affordable home program. They have degraded and worsened city communities, not uplifted them. And I've had experience that in West Tampa. I also want to have a robust 203K mortgage program to help people buy and rehab homes. And we will work with...
Thank you.
We'll get it done because I will work
Thank you.
to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all's patience today as we've tried to get around the room and I've tried to choose one from each table as best we can. We have time for one more audience question and then Craig's got one, but we're going with Alma here. And if, can we do 30 seconds on the answer for this round of questions? Yeah.
Keep hope alive, thank you. Alma Gonzalez, thank you all very much for making the personal sacrifice and the family sacrifice to try to serve our city. We so appreciate that. Home rule is under threat and attack constantly. 3 issues of tremendous concern for us in this city are the issue of I'm so sorry. The issue of common sense gun control, the fight for 15, and sanctuary cities. Are you prepared to fight for us on those issues?
Again, we're doing 30 seconds on these answers.
30
if you would.
seconds, really?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll take these 7 minutes to do a dissertation, right? Sanctuary cities do not apply in the city of Tampa, in the state of Florida, because it's, who you release is controlled by the sheriff. It's an issue that really applies to other places where cities control jails. So I don't think it's an applicable thing. We've talked about that in other forums. The gun control thing is going to have to be a constitutional amendment. And I think also the minimum wage has to. And I'd be disposed to support those depending on what the terms are. But yeah, I think that's the way it's got to get done.
I've been fighting against preemption from the very beginning as a council member in 2011. It is not stopping anytime soon. Yes, I will fight to make sure that we can have some modicum of regulation of guns here in this city. And I've already started doing that. Secondly, there is a bill called House Bill 3 that will eliminate any regulation from the city of Tampa for any business or nonprofit. Just remember this, if you like strip joints, they may be next to you someday if that bill gets passed, because we won't be able to regulate anything. This legislature is going to have to learn that we can't do that and to let cities rule themselves.
Thank you.
In my 30 seconds, now 28 seconds, I'll say gun control is very, very important. And what I would do is join Rick Kreisman's lawsuit against the state so that we could have local control over guns. And we've got to get these weapons, these big weapons and the bump stocks and all that stuff, we've got to get that off the street. Thank you.
Okay, see if I get all 3 of your questions. Sanctuary cities is irrelevant for the reasons that I just mentioned, but I will be very inclusive and open my arms to any immigrants that are out there. We are a nation of immigrants and we need to celebrate that. Number 2, gun control. We face a $5,000 fine and could be ejected from our office if we actually try to even pass legislation with that, so it's a very sticky wicket for us. Number 3, what was the third one? Minimum wage. I've already said that I'm all on board for Fight for 15. I'll work with Adam Fentress and Diane. I'll go to Tallahassee and fight for as hard as I can. I think it needs to be done. You bet.
Thank you.
I definitely support at least the minimum wage, and I think cities ought to be able to, the citizens, decide what they want to do with gun control. But I would agree that probably those are not going to be solved just city to city, would cause massive litigation, and it probably would have to come through some statewide constitutional amendment. I agree that the sanctuary cities probably don't apply when you legally talk about the definition, but I am not in favor of turning Tampa into a sanctuary city.
The war on local government decision-making by Tallahassee has been unrelenting, and it has been one of the great difficulties that we have had when we try to make common sense reform, particularly in the wake of all the gun violence tragedy that we have seen. There was a point where we had to rush to pass a law to restrict the sale of fertilizers containing nitrates in the city of Tampa that wash into the bay and cause algae blooms and water pollution. We had to rush to pass the law because the state was about to preempt us from being able to regulate the industry. It's outrageous.
You know, the state continues to push down the taxing responsibility while usurping all of our authority. I'll tell you that as a lieutenant in the police department, I started the firearms unit only to find that every piece of legislation dealing with firearms or ammunition was written by Marion Hammer with the NRA. Nothing that we can do. A police officer can be arrested for trying to enforce an ordinance. And that 70% of Floridians are in favor of responsible firearm legislation, and they still won't do it. It's a tragedy.
Thank you very much.
I have a question, 30 seconds each. I will follow that up with one last question you should be able to answer in 1 or 2 words. The question is with respect, first, 30 seconds, to campaign finance reform. St. Petersburg passed sharp restrictions and a ban on a combination of foreign and super PAC donations, the first city, I believe, since Citizens United to do this. Do you think Tampa should pass the same ban? Yes or no? And if no, what, if anything, should Tampa do to change, to address the influence of money in politics?
I say yes, because this is the first time I'm not a politician. First time I've been involved in a campaign, and I watched the Lincoln movie with Daniel Day-Lewis a month or so ago, and I thought that guy wouldn't have a snowball's chance in hell of being president today. And that's the problem, is that you have to raise all of this money in order to be competitive in the political arena, and I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree. The system is completely broken, and unfortunately, we all have to live within it unless we have the means to exempt ourselves from it. The problem, though, no, seriously. The problem, though, is that even if we do something locally, the state still has its own campaign finance system that is going to allow these PACs to exist at the state level, and they exist at the federal level. So you don't live in a vacuum, and you can't legislate around the First Amendment. And any time that the campaign finance laws really start restricting people's ability to spend on their own behalf, they're found unconstitutional.
No, I think we should just follow whatever guidelines we have at this time. I think persons and entities should be able to contribute to candidates if they wish to do that. I think the process, however, needs to stay transparent, and it has to be reported so that anyone can see who is giving anything to any candidate.
I think I'm listening to a bunch of hypocrisy up here, because none of these people have made it this far if they didn't have the campaign corruption going on behind them already with their PACs. I'll tell you, you can be competitive, Harry. I'll tell you why. Sorry. You can be competitive because I'm here. I don't have a PAC. I've raised over $80,000 on the hardworking shoulders of men and women just like you who say, you know what, I'm tired of this system being the way it is. I'll donate to your campaign. And I'm here. I'm on the ballot. I've made it. I'm competitive. So you can do it. The fact is, good leaders do what's right. And when they think things that are wrong, that are legal, they don't just sit there and go, well, it's legal, I'll do it anyway. They fight up against it. Let's hire leaders.
I agree with Topher. Anybody can make it. It's hard work. Go after it. If you want to use your own means, use your own means. But I don't like these PACs at all. There's a lot of abuse with these PACs. And if you don't believe me, just look at some of them.
I had a laugh. There's a woman in the back that has a shirt on that says laugh. I was looking at you when I heard everyone else talk about this. Money in politics is not going to go away. We have to play by the rules that we're given. There's no doubt about it. Do I think that there's too much money in it? Absolutely. And the danger is that we have individuals that are wealthy enough to go out and run without any kind of hooks in them. Okay? I think that Topher is correct. Because you know what? When you don't answer to the people, you don't answer to anyone. And we have to remember that. You know, Howard Schultz is speaking about running now. He can run, and he'll be able to get his message out because he's a billionaire. Thank you, Councilman.
Well, I don't think there's anything you can do about it legally, but think about this. I think $4 million is going to be spent before March 5th in this race. $4 million. Dick, when you and I ran in 2011, 1.3 million was spent, right? The top, I think, Dick, you raised 450,000, Rose raised 400,000. I thought if I got to 400,000 this time, I'd be like big time, but no, like, I'm a small guy. So, the fact of the matter, it is what it is, and we're America, we just gotta live with it.
At this time, we want the Garfield Committee to finalize its selection, and while that is taking place, I have one last question. Again, we're looking for just a very brief one or maybe two-word answer here, and I'm asking this because our perspective, a lot of times, and priorities are informed by where we draw our information. Tell me, what is your #1 source for local and national news, and specifically the news source you trust the most? Mr. Tranchik.
Well, Jenny and I like PBS NewsHour, 7 to 8 o'clock every night. That's, in my opinion, the best source of news. I like the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, and New York Times to balance it off. I'll sometimes watch Fox and CNN, but mostly CNN for that stuff. Locally, I just don't have really great sources anymore. You know, I don't think the journalists are doing what they used to do, so that's too bad. I wish we had 2 newspapers.
Councilor Swartz.
Well, obviously, Channel 13 News,
Pander.
thank you. On your Sunday show, without a doubt, is really the best in terms of local politics here. No, I actually listen to a